Hello, everyone, and welcome to this fifth e-learning lunch session, Connect and Share over lunch. We've had a lot of enthusiasm from people wanting to participate in these, and this week our colleague Pale from the Sydney campus has put forward a proposal to do the introductory presentation for this week, and her topic is looking at distraction and how to combat distraction with mindfulness techniques. And we'll then discuss how this can be applied in an online teaching context, particularly as distraction can be more of a problem perhaps in the online context than it might be in a controlled environment such as a classroom. So Pale, please take it away.
All right, thank you, David. First, I'm going to share the screen and take it from there. So good morning, everyone. Well, it's afternoon. I'm sorry, it's not morning anymore. Yeah, 12:39. So it's a very gloomy day here, and this is my first session with Brown Bag community. I'm a bit nervous, of course. So for help, I've got this hot cup of tea. So why did I choose this topic, distraction and mindfulness? So the reason why I chose this topic is because I think it's a topic which is very close to my heart, and I'm sure most of us are able to relate to these two concepts of distraction and mindfulness. It's a constant struggle for me to keep away from distraction. And it's also a lot of efforts that I put in trying to be mindful in what I say or in my actions. And I'm sure many of you or almost everybody would be able to agree with me on this part, where we all are putting in our efforts to be mindful in a day-to-day life. So that's the reason why I've chosen this topic, distraction and mindfulness. So on that note, let's get started. So the first instruction I would like everyone to do is to put off your cameras, like switch off your videos for the time being. And also you can keep your speakers on mute unless you're asked to speak or participate verbally.
Okay, we have, but I had to unmute to say that.
Okay. I can still see Dr. Shishir, so. All right, okay. Great. Now, I want everyone to take 2 minutes of your time to close your eyes and ponder upon your day-to-day distractions that you face. Distractions which you consider are good for you. Maybe you are trying to walk away from some negative things that are happening around you. You're trying to distract yourself from the negativities or the distractions that you think are not that good for you. So you have to think about 2 examples that are causing distractions in your life, in a day-to-day life, or maybe what has happened today, or maybe from a recent incident. So take 2 minutes of your time and we can talk about it in a bit. Your time starts now. We have 1 more minute to go. All right, can everybody now open your eyes? And if possible, if you can put your cameras on. All right. My question to the audience, why do you think I asked everyone to put their cameras off?
So we didn't get distracted looking at each other?
All right, okay, very good. What else can you think of?
So we didn't get distracted looking at our own appearance? Like Narcissus gazing into the pool.
Anyone else?
So that we could actually focus.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So the whole idea of switching off the camera was to check if, as an adult, we have to be honest to each other. As an adult, are we getting distracted? Did we take this time for 2 minutes to look into our phone? Or did we feel like getting a glass of water? How well did we concentrate? How much could we actually control the temptation of not getting distracted? That was the whole idea of switching off the camera. Now, let's get back to the real question, the original question where we started from. 2 examples from your day-to-day life, or maybe something that you consider as a good distraction that has happened today, or it has been happening for a while. And maybe 1 example which you think that it has been a bad distraction for you. Who would like to volunteer?
Yeah, I would like to go first. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so the good distractions for me are when I get meeting reminders, I find them to be good distractions because then I'm reminded that, okay, I need to prepare myself and I need to do my homework. And the bad distractions for me are WhatsApp notifications, which I find very irritating.
Yeah.
Also the email notifications at the same time, I find them very irritating, but I think it has become a part of my life now. Mm-hmm. So I've accepted and kind of made peace with it now. Yeah. And because I tried turning off the notifications, but then I realized that if I turn off the notifications, I tend to miss out on important things. Yeah. So I cannot afford to do that. So yeah, so these are the ones for me.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, if no one wants to go next, I'll go next. So a good distraction for me is work colleagues asking for help. I feel that that's a good opportunity to get to know colleagues and to be actually able to do something that benefits the whole organization by getting people to move on with what they're doing. But at the same time, it does mean that I'm no longer focusing on the one thing linearly. And of course, that happens much less in the online context than it does in the office, but it still happens in the online context. We still get messages and things. Oh, help me,
Yes.
what are we going to do? And the other thing that I think is a bad distraction is excessive bureaucratization, forms and templates ad nauseum. These things create extra work that doesn't have meaning, if you know what I mean. There is a good use for them within reason, but then often that gets taken to excesses where there are too many and they clog up the process of being able to be creative and things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, David. So as we progress further, let's focus on the goal of this presentation, which is basically to identify some clues of distraction amongst the students, especially now that we have moved online. Our learning and the delivery is taking place online. So it's much easier, at least for me, to face someone and to see if the person is attentive or if the person is getting distracted. But it gets really difficult to point out if a person is attentive or, there are distractions around the person, or the person is getting disinterested if the things move online. So as an educator, or maybe as an admin or as a student support, we all have interactions with our students. I would like to know some of your experiences with distractions online. So I was having a chat with David, and David mentioned that there used to be a software which used to monitor the distractions amongst the students while you are delivering a lesson online. But I'm sure other than the technology part, there are different ways of perceiving distractions. So I would like to hear from each one of you, what have you perceived as distractions amongst the online learners?
Do we have anyone who's directly involved in teaching here?
Yeah, David. Hi, everyone. This is Divita.
Divita, perfect.
For me, distraction in a class usually is when students are just smiling to themselves. I know they've read a message on their phone or something like that that has distracted them, and then they're just having a little giggle. Other common distractors are family members walking around, or their mic getting turned on and you hear a screaming kid or just a random conversation in another language. Um, these were things that, were there during the initial phase of online learning. And students are a lot more disciplined and, they've understood, the nuances. And I don't see that much often now. With the sound and people walking around, it's not as much as what it used to be. But yeah, I think mobile phones, you suddenly see a ray of light on their face and a smile, you know that they're distracted and they're doing things on their phone. So that, I think that's the most common distraction that I find among students.
And Devita, would you like to share any strategies that you have applied to combat distraction in your classroom interaction?
Definitely, like I mentioned, the first couple of weeks were really difficult with students just, attending classes from their car, just honking and all of that, but once we started establishing definitely a good rapport with the students and trying to understand from where they're attending these classes and what's going on for them.
Yeah.
For example, like school holidays and children being around, moms with their babies and stuff like that. Understanding our student is, I think, something that helped me. And then addressing those individual issues separately with them and seeing how we can, help them out.
Yeah.
Rules that we kind of formulated, online etiquette that we posted on for all our students. Now and then reminding them of the same. So before beginning classes, just go through those essential rules again and explaining why it is important to minimize these distractions.
Absolutely.
Making them understand it's just not them, but the whole class gets affected because of that.
Yeah.
For the lecturer gets disrupted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks,
Devita. Thanks for your experience. So the thing that you just told me about, like parents walking around, children crying, it's more to do with physical distraction. Is there anyone, any educator or anybody who has had interaction with these students, did they ever face anything which is a non-verbal communication sort of a distraction, something that you couldn't physically see, but you could perceive? Would anyone like to share any such experiences if you have had?
So like if there's something on their mind, for example, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Something that you couldn't see, but like you could feel that the person is not participative, or, there is a distraction happening, but you just couldn't pinpoint physically.
Yeah, actually, this is Jenny from Perth. We have faced that for a couple of students recently in the current batch. The students were basically, one of the students, she couldn't say what the distraction from, but then we could definitely see that in her face, her and her mannerisms, and she's always upset. She's not like, I haven't seen her smiling. So we try to Divya tried to help her quite a lot. We try to talk to her, see to get into what the real problem is. She facing any issues or cultural shock, but she wasn't opening up much. But then from our end, we tried to help her out and try to get into the problem so that we can help the student to concentrate in the classes and face the issues which is because the current being a 6 weeks intensive course, it would help her attend the exams and get into the OSCE exams, or make sure she get the assignment ready on time. So I think to a fair bit, it helped, and we made the student understand the importance of, opening up and being facing the problems. So towards the end of the 6 weeks, she was looking a bit better, and she was able to concentrate on what we are trying to talk. Like when we start talking, she doesn't listen. she's quite upset about her placement or whatever, and then she she doesn't listen to us. She's just straight out um, upset. So towards the end of it, that changed actually, and I think there's a big role in helping students.
That's fantastic. Yeah, thanks for sharing your experiences. So yeah, so distractions can be verbal and it can also be non-verbal. So the verbal clues are easy to see, easy to perceive, whereas the non-verbal clues can get a slightly tricky to perceive. So in CBT, in cognitive behavior therapy, distractions are divided in two parts, as we already discussed. Physical, which is displayed physically with or without an object, and non-physical. And the non-physical one is also known as metaphorical distraction. Can anybody take a wild guess why is it known as a metaphorical distraction?
You don't know if that's what the student or what the person is feeling, like you're just having a wild guess.
Yeah, it's completely based on perception, yes. And anyone else? Any other answer?
So the root word of metaphor is the Greek word which literally means to transfer. So it could be a distraction that is transferred from another time or place to the setting in which they're currently being distracted.
Absolutely, David, you are so right. Yes. Yeah, so it's a kind of a distraction that's not necessarily coming straight from one particular object or from a center of origin, but it's getting transferred from one place to another, one person to another. So it's more like an energy. It's more like an energy that's getting dissipated everywhere. So the clues of physical distraction definitely are body language, the device distraction that we have. So for example, looking into your phone, looking into other things, or attaching ourselves to objects definitely is a form of distraction. Sometimes we also do some sort of inappropriate body language gestures. For example, inappropriate head nods. So in a group, in a meeting, maybe you're not able to understand a certain concept, maybe you are not paying attention, but all of a sudden you look around and you see people are actually not saying yes, and you join the gang. So that sort of a body language is definitely a physical distraction clue. Smile to impress. I think we all have faced the situation. There are times when we would have got no clue about what's going on. Maybe we didn't get a joke. Maybe we are not there, like we are there physically, but then we are not present mentally. So we just smile, you know, you fake it till you make it, as they say. So smile to impress is another clue for physical distraction. Clues for non-physical distraction was quite evident if you are teaching online or even if you're teaching face-to-face. Poor body language would include poor posture, tone of your voice, poor eye contact, and your level of participations. And I'm sure most of us, we have faced this, we have seen this amongst our students in our day-to-day teaching or in our day-to-day interaction with the students. So before we move ahead with the discussion of different types of distractions that we might be able to spot or distinguish amongst our students, I would like to make a disclaimer that whatever I'm going to present after this, like after this slide, it's not associated with any religious group or any particular cult. Because I'm going to talk about 3 laws of materialism, which is a concept associated very closely with the laws of distraction. So have anyone had ever heard of 3 laws of materialism?
You're all welcome to unmute and say if you have.
No.
Huh. Okay. I have.
All right. Okay. No worries. So this is a concept, the 3 laws of materialism. It's a concept which was coined by a Tibetan monk. His name was Chögyam Trungpa. And his ideas were based on distraction of actions of 3 barbarian kings or lords who were ruling at that point of time. So the attributes of their characters or the way they were ruling, they were considered as distractions for the world, or at least for this particular Tibetan monk. So he divided the types of distraction in 3 different categories. The first one being the Lord of Form, which is attaching yourselves to any objects. So for example, if you are feeling insecure or irritated, you might want to start watching TV, pick up your phone, or start reading a newspaper, start reading a book, just to get distracted. So you're attaching yourself to another object. So that is your Lord of Form. Lot of speech, attaching yourselves to different or certain labels, ideologies, or groups to create a sense of security and to get an affirmation of what we believe is right. And then we try to create a sense of right and wrong within ourselves. It's a very, very common form of distraction that we often do. Especially to fit in, or maybe you have gone to a new place where you have no idea what you're doing is right or wrong, just to distract yourself from the uneasiness of the world. We try to attach ourselves to certain groups. For example, when I first moved to Australia, I had no friends. So I moved here like 2 years back. I got married and I moved here, and my friends were my friends from my husband's side. I'd never had any friends of my own, like my own circle here. And I definitely tried to attach myself with certain set of people whom I thought shared the same interests or maybe same ideologies, just to have the affirmation that, okay, what I'm doing or what I'm feeling or what I'm saying is correct, or what my very existence needed an affirmation. The third one is a lot of mind, where we tend to overcome the uneasiness or discomfort of life by attaching ourselves to a heightened state of mind, like taking refuge in sports, or maybe, take a roller coaster ride, or, get in a heightened state of mind, maybe just after a run or a swim. So we try to escape such situations or bring us into different forms of distraction to escape what's happening at the moment, and if you're not very comfortable with the situations. Now the question arises, why do we need to segregate them? Why do we need to understand different forms of distraction? The reason why we need to do that is to understand if a distraction is good for us or if a distraction is not working out well for us. Now, my question to everyone, I'm sure all of us, we have gone through these 3 different forms. If you could share any one of the experiences that you have had and you could identify in any of these forms, that would be really great.
Well, I could give an example. I think the first one, these things tend to be very obvious, but I found myself in situations where I've been distracted by my mobile phone. It keeps on trying to get my attention with all of these things, and I keep looking at it and not really focusing on the situation I'm in. And that's an easy trap to fall into, I think, in some cases.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think that's a lot of speech, a lot of mind, a lot of form? What do you think you're attaching to?
Well, I think that's a lot of form. It's an object, really.
Yeah.
But it also has elements of it probably has a social element as well, because it's communication, it's social media and things, and I might be worrying about whether people are happy that I have not answered in a short enough time and things like this. Some people get upset about it.
Yeah, I completely get it. Yeah, definitely. So on that note, I have a little case study, and you could take like 5 minutes to go through the case study and answer the following questions.
Eliza was heartbroken. She had received news from her airline that her solo trip to Europe was cancelled due to COVID-19. In order to escape her sorrow, Eliza called her friend Nadia and arranged for a girls' night out. That night, Eliza and Nadia went from one friend's house to another, boarded a roller coaster for a while, and finally ended up at the local pub. The next morning, Eliza felt better. She thanked Nadia for being there for her always. Oh, that's sweet. So which form of distraction did Eliza exercise? Ooh. So the distraction in this case was a deliberate distraction in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone want to answer what which of the types of distraction from the talk so far was that?
Yeah.
Is it a lot of speech? Attaching herself to a group or a friend?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And what else can you think of?
Is it a material distraction because she is materially going from one place to another, like out of her house and into the pub and the friend's house and things?
Yes, but we are talking about which form is she attaching herself to? Is it a lot of mind? Is it a lot of speech, or is it a lot of form?
It's definitely not a lot of mind, because that would be more clarity, not less, wouldn't it?
Remember, the lot of mind, it has got to do with a heightened state of mind, and it can come from any pleasure that you're deriving that is taking you to a heightened state of mind. It could be a roller coaster ride, it could be alcohol, it could be harmful objects, or like contrabands, or it could be just a swim or a run, anything that's giving you a rush or a heightened state of mind.
Okay, so things like song and dance and that sort of thing.
Yeah, could be, yes.
Ah, okay.
So the question comes down to really, why is it good, or why do you think it's not good? What are the downfalls of a lot of mind, or what are the downfalls of a lot of speech, or what are the downfalls of a lot of form?
Well, it's temporary in the sense that if you look at them, the behavior is almost self-destructive.
Yeah.
Because they went and probably, consumed alcohol, and then it helped overcome the problem for a short period of time. But, she would have woken up the next day with a big headache, and the problem was still there. She's still miserable because she didn't go on this trip, this much deserved trip of hers.
Absolutely.
It's like most people that self-medicate with alcohol to overcome an issue. And it does bring about temporary relief, but eventually you're going to overcome the effects of that alcohol and you're going to face the same problem. So it's not a good way to deal with any issue. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So it was just a short-term solution for a big issue of hers.
Right. Yeah. So Dr. Resham, do you believe all of these different forms, they come with a side effect, or do you think that distractions are good in a way, in whatever form they might be helping you in?
Well, to some people, Payal, it will be helpful. But for a lot of people, they'll come to the realization that it's not really helpful for a long period of time. It just brings about temporary, like I said, it just brings about temporary relief.
Yeah.
I missed the earlier part of your session, so I haven't exactly followed on from the beginning.
No, you're right on spot. Like, yeah, thanks for your answer. So yeah, so the question actually comes down to, is distraction working out good for us, or if it is not? So we really need to remember that all of these these forms of distractions that we have, they definitely have a side effect. It is their addictive quality, which actually helps us to overcome what we are going through, or we are trying to escape the current situation. So we need to strike a balance between the illusion versus the reality that we are facing. Also be aware of the addictive qualities of all of these distractions that might bring into your life. So the whole idea is to practice everything within the limits, or let's just say have a perfect balance, or at least try to have a balance between the sources of distractions that you are choosing and your being. And that is where the term mindfulness comes into picture. It's a very simple concept that most of us, we forget to practice. We literally struggle to practice it every day. Can you recall, when was the last time you were being mindful? Can you think of some examples when you have practiced mindfulness with your efforts? It like it's something that just didn't happen or just didn't occur to you, as a natural organic flow?
I can give you examples of when I wasn't very mindful. There's been lots of that.
Right.
When I just started my nursing career, I used to do rotating shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And on night shifts, after completing the night shift, and in the morning staff will arrive and you do your handover, and I'll get into my car.
Mm-hmm.
I go home, have a sleep, and wake up and have no memory of how I drove home that morning after leaving work. It was all such a blur to me because I was tired. I was up all night.
Mm-hmm.
And, not mindful of my whereabouts, really. It used to be like a mystery. How did I get home? I can't even recall passing certain places or whatever. So I think when we're preoccupied with things, we're exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to be mindful.
Absolutely. Yes, I get that. And on that note, can we enter a small quiz on mindfulness?
Well, I don't see why not. Is it another link?
No, there isn't any link. So I'm planning to put out names randomly, whoever faces or names that come up here, and ask questions about mindfulness, if that is okay.
Sure, I have no objection. Like, let's see how people go.
All right, cool. I would like to start with my manager, Dr. Shishir. Dr. Shishir,
Yeah.
how many glasses of water did you drink today?
Oh, at least 5 glasses of water.
All right. So
Morning,
you have been mindful of how many glasses of water you were drinking.
Yes, I do.
Perfect. Linny, did you see the sky today? How does it look like? Hey, don't peep out of your window now.
Yeah, a bit cloudy.
Okay, cool. You peeped out already. All right, great. All right, cool. Pooja.
Yes.
What is the color of your toothbrush?
It's orange.
Wow, perfect.
Because I changed it just last night, so I know it very well.
Ah, okay, cool. All right. Deepak, what's the smell of your shampoo like?
Something like honey and caramel.
Nice. Okay. You're aware of your senses. Very well. Good. To be honest, like the reason why I asked this question, if you would have asked me, I would probably not be able to answer what my shampoo smells like. Like in the morning when I'm in a hurry, I just shampoo my hair and come out. I don't really bother about the smell of it. Till the time it smells okay, I'm fine with it. Like I don't really take time to feel it or, make my senses aware of things. Devita?
Yes.
What's my full name?
Sorry, say that again.
What's my full name?
Oh my God. Pile G. I don't want to be intro. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So yeah, I'm Payal Ghosh.
Right.
It says we
Learning
are
today.
IOG screen up here.
Yeah. No, I know that. Okay. All right. So I don't want to intimidate anyone anymore. If you could quickly think of when was the last time you have complimented anyone and what was the compliment? And if you could also think why these questions which seem so irrelevant and seem so not important at all, insignificant in a day-to-day life, why were these questions asked in a mindfulness session?
So there were two questions. Why
Yes.
these questions? And also, when was the last time we complimented someone?
Yes.
Are you talking about the question of when we complimented someone or the question of
Yes.
other questions you asked us?
No, the first one. So when was the
Okay.
last time you have complimented anyone? Can you think of that? When were you really mindful of complimenting someone about a person's work or some contribution or anything that you have appreciated?
Yes, I can share that.
Mhm.
I complimented Blossom. She's one of our educators. This morning when I came in, just the time I entered and I saw her, I complimented her for her beautiful necklace that she was wearing.
Wow.
And also I said thank you for, I told her, thanks for her generous act of getting something for us every Wednesday. She is here on every Wednesday, so she always brings in a plate. It could be fruits, it could be chocolates, it could be strawberries, it could be anything. So we come to know, the moment we enter the staff kitchen, we know that Blossom is around because we can see something on the table. So,
Beautiful.
just this morning as I entered.
Yeah, beautiful. Is there anyone else who would like to share?
I complimented my students this morning. This is week 12. We're finishing classes. So I had complimented about their behavior and how they were so lovely and engaging in class.
Beautiful. Thank you, Divita. And now moving on to the next part of the question. Why do you think I asked these questions which seemed absolutely insignificant or irrelevant? What these questions have got to do with mindfulness?
I'm not sure, Kyle. This is Zoe from North Melbourne. Personally, I follow a complete opposite ideology of keeping a track of everything I'm doing. For example, say shampoo bottles. My shampoo bottles would not have any labels, nothing at all. So what I personally tend to do is desensitize things around me so that my energy is channelized into something that I really want to care about. So instead of being mindful of everything around me, I would rather limit it to the areas of my interest. So it's like playing with my own senses or my kids' senses as well. So that's what they say, that kids sometimes do not go to bed because they're too sensitized throughout the day with all the music and everything happening around them. So that tends to move you away from your inner mindfulness. You know what I mean? The self-mindfulness. So to me, honestly, I would not even want to think about these details. But again, as I said, that's a personal choice. And that is something I've read somewhere I'm trying to incorporate as well. That trying to remove all these things who should not take my energy, should not consume my energy, because I have limited hours, I have limited energy to spend on something that really matters to me.
Yeah.
So I will be that person who would say, I'm not sure whether I need to be mindful about my toothbrush color. You know what I mean? So yeah, but that is something that is unnatural, and I'm training myself to do. So that's another thing.
So
We are trained to be mindful.
yes, so there is no right or wrong answer in this. So mindfulness is a concept that is totally perception based. So what you think you want to be mindful of, if you want to be selective about it, absolutely. If you want to utilize your energy in a certain way or in certain channels, like you gave example of your children's music or things that which actually matter to you, that's absolutely all right. So there is nothing wrong in that at all, Zoe. So mindfulness, the reason why I asked this question is just to be aware. It's about your awareness. It doesn't matter where you're being aware of. You're aware of your dress, if you're aware of your education, or if it's something not at all relevant to the world, but something that really matters to you, maybe a tomato plant that you might have planted. So mindfulness is all based on your awareness. So it doesn't matter the importance of that particular subject to you or in somebody else's life. So that's the reason why these questions probably. So for example, if I asked, what's the color of your toothbrush? Maybe it's not that important a question for me, but maybe for a kid. So we can definitely practice mindfulness in different ways, making aware of the senses or the surroundings or the environment that we have to ourselves and also to the people, those who matter to us.
That's right.
Anyone
I have a
else
question.
would
I
like
have a
to-
question.
Yeah, sure.
So if we become aware of what we are being mindful of, can we then do something like the Marie Kondo technique on it, and we can say, okay, which are the things that spark joy in my life and add meaning and are important to be mindful of, and which are the things that are not, and categorize them and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. Yes, why not? Again, David, it depends on what sort of, what are your priorities in life, what you are for, and what's your end result, like what's your objective behind being mindful. So for me, for example, if I can give you a personal example, if I want to be mindful of my environment, in that way, I can, relate to people more. What do? I write a diary. I keep a note of the people that I'm interacting in a day-to-day life. That doesn't mean that I have to answer the little trifle questions that come up on a regular basis, but that's my way of doing things. So you can do it in the way you want, and you can then divide the different priorities in your life in different sections, and where you want to be mindful or what you want to be mindful about for more or less.
To me, that seems like it's almost leading toward what Pooja is saying, which is that she has really done that and been selective and thought, well, what are the really important things already?
It was not Pooja, sorry, it was Zoe.
Oh, that was Zoe, sorry.
Yeah.
I assumed it was Pooja because she's somebody very enlightened and aware, so I just thought it must be her. But Zoe is also very enlightened and aware, no doubt. That's great.
Yeah, you can cover up now, David. That's fine.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's brilliant, though. That's actually a really brilliant thing.
All right. Okay. So moving on to the last section, we have to be mindful of our time. It's 1:26 already. I think it's going to be really helpful if we watch this little video that I've got for everyone. And then at the end, yes, I'm happy to hear your comments and thoughts about today's sessions, and then we can talk more about it.
I want to start today's video with a little bit of an analogy. It's a story.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Story that a friend shared with me, and it really stuck. So let's take this cup of water. This cup has a weight, could be something like 16 ounces or half a kilo, but the weight of the cup actually doesn't really matter too much because how heavy it's going to feel to me depends on how long I hold it up for. For the first few seconds, holding it up might be really easy, but then as we kind of move into me holding it up for a couple of minutes, my arm might start to ache and shake, and the cup is going to start to feel heavier in my hand. If somehow I manage to push through and hold it on for longer still, my arm's going to start to feel paralyzed, and eventually I am going to probably succumb to the weight of the cup. And so a similar thing can be said as well for any difficulties and fears, worries that we experience in life. Just like the cup, if we hold on to these thoughts and feelings for a moment, it might not do too much. But if you hold on to them for longer still, they might start to weigh on us and overwhelm us. So what we need to remember to do is to put the cup down. So I thought that was a really beautiful story when she shared it with me, but then kind of immediately my thought went to, yeah, okay, but how do you put the cup down? Because it's a lot easier said than done. And I think a lot of us tend to distract ourselves in all sorts of ways from the fact that we're even holding on to a cup to begin with. But if we do want to put the cup down, one of the first things that we want to hopefully do is to become aware of when and how we distract. Recently, I was listening to this audiobook. It's called The Places That Scare You. It's by Pema Chodron. And that's exactly one of the things that she discusses, is the ways that we try to escape our fears and our worries by distracting ourselves. And we do that by attaching ourselves to something she calls the 3 lords of materialism. So the first lord of materialism is the lord of form, and this is where we tend to attach ourselves to some physical thing that is outside of us in order to distract from what's really going on inside. So if we're feeling like we're stressed or anxious, insecure, we might start to turn to watching TV. We might pick up our phones, smoke, drink, eat, shop. We read a book, we go into nature. And some of these methods are seemingly harmless. I mean, it might not seem like it's a big deal, but what we are doing ultimately is we're distracting. We're still holding the cup up, but we're distracting from the fact that we are. The second lord of materialism is the lord of speech. And this is when we attach ourselves to certain beliefs. This could be in the form of labels or groups, certain ideologies. And we do this to kind of create a sense of security. And while there's nothing wrong with a belief in itself, it's when we take refuge in the Lord of Speech that we tend to create this feeling, this sense of self and other. And with that, what usually follows is also a feeling of right and wrong, good and bad. And so we might not address certain insecurities that we feel, jealousy maybe, anger or frustration with ourselves and this other person or these other groups, because instead of reflecting inward, we tend to project outward. We might judge people who see the world differently than we do, and we take some comfort in believing that they're wrong and we have it all right. The third lord of materialism is the lord of mind, and this one kind of comes about anytime we try to achieve a heightened state of mind in order to overcome the uneasiness of life. And we can do this through a few different ways. It could be through drugs, through lust, sports, intense spiritual practices. And just like before, the heightened mental states in themselves, they might not really be the issue. What's more potentially harmful is their addictive quality. And these states of mind are really alluring because they seemingly give us this escape from the mundane experiences of day-to-day life. And there was a quote from Pema that I really liked where she says that since it's inevitable that what goes up must come down, when we take refuge in the Lord of Mind, we're doomed to experience disappointment. So now we know that there's these 3 different ways that we tend to distract ourselves, and we create this illusion of security because it's things that we feel like we are in.
You want to make any concluding remarks?
Yeah, thanks everyone for attending, and I'm more than happy to answer all the questions that you might have for us, and I'm also open to feedback. So please let me know about what do you think about the session and areas of improvement. I'm happy to take all the comments and feedback then.
Like for the participants, before leaving, I have posted the link for feedback. Can you please click on the link and give feedback?
Yes, that's very important. Feedback. We
It's
need to
already
collect
posted
feedback.
in chats.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And Payal, Dr. Shishir have asked you a question if you can answer.
We will discuss it later.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. No worries.
Certainly.
All right.
So these lessons from Payal's presentation, these are things that we can teach our students, that we can actually directly address in orientation programs and things like that. I've used elements of that before, but not that complete concept. And I think that this can be very beneficial when students are going into that online study environment. So yeah, thank you very much, Payal, for your very interesting talk. I don't want to stop anyone who's got to go to their next meeting, that's all. So we do have to wrap up, that's all. Would you be willing to answer questions if anyone messages you or emails you after?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everyone, I think we all are connected on Teams. So yeah, I'm more than happy to answer.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for attending, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Payal. Thank you for the presentation. It was a good one.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. If you found this interesting, then next time, why not join us live? We hold these lunches every fortnight. Just ask for a calendar invite.